I've covered a lot of artists who have been banned from NBC's variety show Saturday Night Live, including The Replacements, Rage Against the Machine, Fear, and the temporary ban of Elvis Costello. The links to those videos are down below. But today I want to talk about a more recent incident that happened in 2005 that saw the band System of a Down angering NBC censors and resulting in the group being banned from the show. 2005 saw System of a Down release not one but two albums, Mesmerize in May of 2005. To promote their first release, Mesmerize, the band appeared on the May 7th episode of the show with host Johnny Knoxville. Some episode highlights apart from System of a Down's performance that night was that American Idol judge Paula Abdul made a guest appearance in the cold open and introduced System of a Down's second performance. That episode also served as Jason Sudeikis' first appearance as a cast member on the show, and Will Forte's mother appeared on Weekend Update. System of a Down would perform two songs that night, including their massive hit BYOB, or Bring Your Own Bombs, off their new album, followed by Aerials off Toxicity. BYOB's strong anti-war message made the NBC censors nervous, given how politically divisive the Second Iraq War was at the time. Also making the censors nervous were the song's lyrics, which contained the line, "Where the F are you?" NBC allowed the band to play the song with the profanity left in, but ran the show on a 5-second delay so it could be bleeped out. At this point in time, SNL wasn't running on a delay, but they made an exception that night. The network was successful in bleeping out the curse words, but it was an off-the-cuff moment that made its way past NBC censors, and guitarist Darren Malakian walked up to the microphone and said "F yeah." An NBC spokesperson would tell Entertainment Weekly that the network received no complaints regarding the incident, though the network issued a statement slamming System of a Down and their management for, and I quote, "an unscripted expletive," and claimed the off-the-cuff moment was removed from later broadcasts of the episode. System of a Down would never be invited again onto the show, but in 2018 host Tina Fey covered the song Chop Suey during a skit. 2005 was a crazy year for TV censorship. Let's talk about the other incident that happened on NBC that year. On December 31st, 2004, Jay Leno's Tonight Show held a New Year's Eve episode with Motley Crue as a musical guest. The band was promoting their anthology album called Red, White, and Crew, and Motley Crue would perform two of their classical songs that night, including Girls, Girls, Girls and Dr. Feelgood. During Motley Crue's performance of Girls, 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 frontman Vince Neil turned to drummer Tommy Lee and used an expletive, as you can see here.
Hey Tommy! Happy fucking New Year, man!
Of course, the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, who was responsible for monitoring the broadcast airwaves, received viewer complaints that probably could have been counted on one hand. Fearing the wrath of the federal government, who could have fined the network or worse, removed their licenses, NBC quickly banned Motley Crue from any future appearances on the network. By this point in time, the band was already set to appear on Carson Daly's late night show, but that appearance got cancelled. Motley Crue contended that they tried to issue a statement apologizing for the slip-up, but was blocked by NBC's brass from doing so. While Leno's show that night recorded a live broadcast for the East Coast where the F word was heard by viewers in that time slot, other time zones didn't hear the expletive as they saw a rebroadcast that was edited out. 5 months after the incident, Motley Crue filed a lawsuit against NBC seeking punitive damages for hurting the band's record and ticket sales. The lawsuit also alleged that NBC's decision, and I quote, interfered with the band's ability to secure optimal concert bookings, sponsorships, and co-branding relationships. The band would claim frontman Vince Neil was, and I quote, caught in the exuberance of the moment. Meanwhile, bassist Nikki Sixx would put out a statement around the time of the lawsuit saying, "We meant no harm, but it feels like we're being singled out unfairly. This is a discrimination issue, pure and simple." The lawsuit also questioned why NBC announced that drummer Tommy Lee would be appearing by himself in an upcoming television reality show called Tommy Lee Goes to College, despite the band. Motley Crue's lawsuit alleged the network censored the group as a whole to please the federal government, so no actions would be taken against the network. The band's lawyers pointed to U2 and John Mayer for having similar slip-ups, but not facing the same consequences. Motley Crue's lawyers zeroed on Bono's acceptance speech at the Golden Globe Awards 2 years prior, where he used the phrase "effing brilliant" when receiving a 2003 Golden Globe for the band's contribution to the film Gangs of New York. By the way, guys, I've done a whole video on that incident. It's down below in the description box. U2 walked away unscathed, as did NBC, and at the time the network even went out of their way to defend Bono, claiming his use of the F word was, and I quote, isolated and fleeting. You have to remember though, the FCC started to seriously crack down on what they considered to be indecency after the whole Janet Jackson Super Bowl incident in 2004. The problem was that the federal government didn't have an exact definition of what constituted indecency. Up until 2004, the rules for late night programming have always been a little looser, since it's less likely that children would be watching. According to the FCC, the F word shouldn't be used on radio or television programs when children would be watching or listening. This same rule didn't technically apply to the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., as the FCC typically evaluated complaints during these hours on a case-by-case basis. Of course, after the Janet Jackson slip-up, any use of the F word or profanity was heavily scrutinized and considered indecent. NBC issued the following statement responding to the lawsuit, saying, "To ensure compliance with its broadcast standards, NBC has the right to decide not to invite back guests who violate those standards and use an expletive during a live entertainment program. The lawsuit Motley Crue has filed against us is meritless." The lawsuit would eventually be settled out of court, and the ban would soon be lifted when Motley Crue appeared on Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show in 2015. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe, and we'll see you again on Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.